Welcome back to Masterpiece Tarot. Here you'll find timeless messages to guide your soul's awakening. If you're here, trust. You are meant to be. You can support my channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing. These help support my mission of creating more peace on earth. Okay, collective. I did a Divine Masculine reading yesterday and something went wrong with the recording, so I'm going to redo that one. And then we may do one or two more for today, okay? All right, well, thank you, Spirit, for using me as a channel to bring through these messages for the highest good of the collective. This will be a Divine Masculine reading. Spirit, we'd like to know more about the Divine Masculine collective. What's happening in their lives right now? What kinds of challenges are they facing? What are the opportunities? And any other details that you would like to provide, we would be happy to receive. Okay, so this is a reading for the Divine Masculine. A couple more shuffles here. I was a bit disappointed about that video because I did the Divine Feminine reading and then I did a Divine Masculine reading. And like a few of the placements, the cards were the exact same, and I really wanted to share that one. I might see if I can somehow unearth it. I don't know where it would have gone, but sometimes strange things happen and I'll find it. And if I do, I'll post it. All right. Okay, well, let's get started here. Getting like a really loud ringing sound in my right ear. Okay, all right. All righty. Spirit, what is it that you'd like for us to know about masculine? What's the primary energy for Divine Masculine? The Empress. Huh. This is a Divine Masculine collective who is currently sitting in a very Divine Feminine energy. So this is interesting. Now this could be somebody in Divine Masculine's reading. Maybe their focus is on an Empress. We're going to have to see. This is the main energy in the Divine Masculine collective right now. Crossing the Sun. Wow, something's being really seen here. Yeah. Okay. Sun is about happiness as well. So there could be something that is, very positive about an Empress. This Empress could be someone who brings a lot of happiness into the life of the Divine Masculine. Conscious space, death. Oh, there's some kind of transformation happening here for the Divine Masculine, and they're very aware of this. So I may be speaking to you, Divine Masculine. It might be cross-watching, or this could just be an aspect of you, Divine Feminine. And what's not being seen is the Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords is somebody who is very assertive, very outspoken. They can have a very strong mind, strong powers of intellect. Queen of Swords cuts out what doesn't serve her. In the recent past, we have a High Priestess. Wow, these are a lot of big energies here. We've got 4 out of 5 of the cards are majors. Divine Masculines. This is probably a big moment. Something big is happening in the masculine collective's life right now. And here in the future, we have a Page of Wands. Okay, Page of Wands. Page of Wands energy. How is masculine seeing themselves right now? As a magician, how are others seeing masculine right now? In some type of celebration. Hopes and fears here. We've got the Fool. maybe a hope for a new start. And now we have the steps to the final outcome, literally the steps. Somebody's walking away from something, and there's a justice card. Something balances out. Yeah, I think that the Divine Masculine right now is going through some huge shift. It might be a shift that has to do with mindset. They might think that it has something to do with another, with the Empress and the High Priestess here. But it might be their own feminine energy that is undergoing some type of a transformation, or maybe it's their own inner masculine, right, in how they relate to feminine energy, either within or in another. Yeah. Okay, I'm done shuffling these. I'm just trying to process this energy. Let's put these up here, and we'll go ahead and get some clarifiers. It'll be interesting to see what this this shift is about for masculine here. Who's the Empress, Spirit? Who is the Empress? The Justice card. This is a person or an energy that has to do with fairness, has to do with balance. And we have a Six of Swords. This is somebody moving to calmer waters. Yeah, I think maybe at this time this masculine is recognizing a need to move out of a current situation, perhaps. Yeah, I mean, the Sun card crossing, this is light, illumination, and so it almost feels like, well, let's get the clarifiers and then we'll go from there. There's the World, yes, a closing out, an achievement even, and an Emperor. Whoa, these are powerful cards right here. Let's see. I have a feeling that this masculine is perhaps leaving behind a version of self that was maybe a bit self-important. Because here we have a child on the Sun card. This is the main card. And then we have this Emperor here. And the Sun is kind of illuminating the truth here. And so I'm getting the feeling here that, you know, this energy that's blocking, that might be blocking this masculine. Hold on, I want to back up for a second. I'm getting something a little different. I think this is our masculine. This is the Divine Masculine. The primary influence in masculine's life right now is the Empress. He's trying to stop her. She's moving on, and yeah, I think the Emperor sees that a cycle is closing. It's like undeniable with this bright sun. This Empress looks like she may be seeking some justice, or maybe more truth, and maybe more fairness. And so this Empress moving on, and I think our masculine may be in the Sun energy. You know, I don't think masculine necessarily has anything to worry about. Of course, this is an achievement. Something very beautiful has happened. There's a lot of growth. But because of the position of it, it's almost like this is a loss that's going to be hard for masculine to take, or that masculine might not want to take. And we have death here in the conscious space. So it's almost a sense that this masculine knows something's got to transform here as he's watching this Empress moving on. All right, so clarify death, Spirit. What's death here? Give us a little more here. We have a Queen of Wands. Wow, okay. Yeah, wow. So the Queen of Wands is somebody who, she's super creative, but I also think that she's like, you know, the sexy queen, right? She's the sexy queen. And I feel a little bit like this masculine has some kind of relationship to this energy that has been a source of abundance in their life for a long time. But there's a recognition that this needs to be transformed. It's ending. This cannot stand for some reason. And it might be related to this Empress here who's walking away, who's like, I think this is a little too, I think you're a little too controlling. I need more freedom. I need more fairness. I think fairness would be the biggest one that I'm seeing here. I need more fairness. And I need to be in connection with the divine masculine because I am the divine feminine. This is what this important person in masculine's life is saying, or what masculine is sensing here. Queen of Swords. This is about justice in a way. It's also about honesty. It's about being logical. So there could be a sense that in all of this, in all of what's happening here for masculine, they may not have been very honest with themselves about their role, perhaps, as this, emperor. Sometimes emperors get out of balance without their empress. Sometimes emperors can also just simply be too controlling, unfair, rule with a heavy hand. And that can be perceived as being toxic. And of course it is in how it's done. So it has everything to do with these counterparts. This emperor is trying to block the empress from going. And masculine right here hasn't been honest with himself and needs maybe to be more logical about this whole thing. He might need to learn to compromise more. But let's see. Yeah, that is the truth. If they want to build something. If anything's going to be built here with this, oh, the dog and the cat. If anything's going to be built here with this empress, this masculine is going to need to be more honest and be more fair in a way, right? Be a little more logical too, which is kind of ironic. But sometimes an overly logical mind that's not balanced with, a healthy emotional intelligence or intuition is out of balance. And that's why it's so easy for emperors to get out of balance, because we live in a very male-dominated still culture. And so you got to work a little harder to cultivate that feminine energy within, right? So anyway, I think that's what's going on here. Wow, and we have the Death again with the High Priestess, and the Temperance is in reverse. Wow, okay. So in the past, I'm getting the feeling that this High Priestess might be this Empress, in the past. This Empress might have been this High Priestess before she became the Empress, and when she was in this energy here, she is very intuitive, very tapped in, but it's almost like that was transformed, and rather than being like in a temperance, in the peace and harmony, something happened in the past where this High Priestess, maybe, I'm seeing this kind of figure up on this horse, and I'm sensing there that like this High Priestess may have sort of in a way entered into like a war zone or something, if it was entering into a connection here. Something's blocking the peace and harmony here. The High Priestess could no longer sit here in this feminine energy. There's a sense almost that, feminine may have had to take on more masculine traits And that makes sense in a way if the Emperor is out of balance. If the Emperor is out of balance in some way, that would happen. That could easily happen. What's the Page of Wands? Tell us about the Page of Wands here, Spirit. In the future, we have a Ten of Pentacles, and we have the Queen of Pentacles. All right, so this is somebody they're very creative, they're passionate, they're ambitious even. And I think this is somebody here who is imagining a future. They're imagining a beautiful relationship, perhaps with a earth sign feminine. We'll have to see who this is. This could be somebody's child. There could be a child on the way in the future. Yeah, a child could be part of that happy home, that Ten of Cups. Yeah. This could be a future partner here of the Divine Masculine that we're reading for. But I have to say, though, that the feminine energy is very strong and prominent in this reading, which is interesting. So the masculine is seeing themselves right now as the Magician. Seeing themselves right now as the Magician. Clarify, Spirit. The Sun again. And the Moon. Whoa. So we're talking a lot about balancing the masculine and feminine energies. And here we have a magician who either sees themselves as being very balanced or is working to bring these aspects of self into greater balance. The Sun is about illumination, the conscious mind, what can be seen. It's the masculine energy. The Moon is related more to night, what's in the dark, the subconscious mind, the intuition. And together, you know, on Earth we experience this as a continuous cycle. We cycle between night and day, the sun and the moon, what we can visibly see usually. And so I think this is a masculine. We're talking about this masculine right now experiencing a huge transformation. And it's a transformation, I think, in terms of not just feminine energy, but their mind, mindset, understanding. It could be understanding about these inner aspects of self. I think it's more natural for the feminine to, you know, it may be more easy in a way for feminine to identify with or tap into, in many cases, this world of feeling, okay, just from an energetic standpoint. Because what's in the shadows are things oftentimes that we don't really want to confront. What's in the unconscious space is the stuff that we suppress, push down. It's important for everybody to be able to go there. But this is a masculine, perhaps, who, if they are a little bit of an out of balance emperor, it could be something they're not used to doing. And so there's a sense now that this masculine is seeing themselves as somebody who's actively working on balancing themselves out. This is a cool energy for masculine here. Tell us about the Three of Cups. Seems like, you know, this is a cause for celebration. A lot of people see this transformation that masculine is going through as something to celebrate. Yeah, I have the feeling that whatever was happening with this Emperor and the Empress, in what is happening with this Emperor and this Empress right now, okay, if, you know, it is burdensome, okay, it's especially if they like rule a kingdom together or something like that. It could be quite stressful. So here we have the Ten of Wands. It's time to put this burden down. And just the mere fact of putting the burden down may be a cause to celebrate. And here we see somebody making a choice. So there are two here. Somebody is making a choice. They're choosing one of the two. They're planning. They are thinking about the future. And, you know, this is a necessary thing sometimes to make a choice, especially when we have justice. Oh, where's the justice card? Well, anyway, justice came out. I think it's way up here. Yeah, right? It's not fair. Let's say Emperor is like cheating or doing something on the side. Okay, well, emperors can do that. Of course they can. But does that lead to peace and harmony? Judging by these cards over here, no, it doesn't. It leads to an ending in an upside down angel that's gonna not be able to fly. So I think that's what this is about. I think in the environment there's a real hope that things will balance out, that the burdens will be laid down, a choice will be made, and there will be cause to celebrate, right? Things become more in balance. Maybe the Empress doesn't have to leave and go away. You know, maybe the masculine heals and becomes more balanced, something like that. And the masculine seems to want a new beginning here, perhaps with the Empress. Masculine seems to want a new beginning. Maybe it's a second chance. Maybe it's a new beginning with somebody new. Hard to say. Maybe it's just a second chance at being a good leader, you know. We have a Wheel of Fortune and a Four of Pentacles. Interestingly, the Fool is like the opposite of control. The Fool is just taking a chance. They're like, you know, leaping off into the unknown without a care. This Fool is not worried about the future at all. There's a sense of trust that everything's going to be fine. The Four of Pentacles is the opposite. She's like looking down. This card is stable, but it's also about control. And with the karmic wheel here, this Wheel of Destiny, it's almost like, who's masculine going to be? Who does masculine want to be? Does he want to be this perpetual fool, always jumping off of a new cliff? Or does masculine want to create more stability in their life? And I think this is a hope and a fear. You know, oftentimes we need both. You know, we need to feel free, but we also need to feel grounded and secure and safe. And I think I get the feeling here that this masculine is trying to integrate these two aspects of self. I mean, I think if we're saying that masculine is this emperor over here, and they're seeing that a cycle is closing out and they're having to take some responsibility for why this empress is leaving, then they're going to be looking at things closely. They're going to be looking at their preferences, okay, for being in this Fool energy, always taking leaps off into the unknown, never knowing where you're going to land. And on the other hand, this stability that the Emperor values highly, by the way, and it works hard to cultivate. And so I think the hope, this is both a hope and a fear. I think there's a hope that there can be a sense of spontaneity, freedom, fun that is preserved, while at the same time maintaining balance in one's life. Something here was out of balance. I almost feel like this kind of control, this grounded, heavy energy, this is masculine energy. This fancy footloose, this is more ethereal, lighter energy. I don't know if that is what the cards actually, but I'm just kind of extrapolating a little bit the energy that I see here. This is almost like a dancer, you know. Yeah, I think there's some deep inner work here for this masculine collective that has to do with it might not just be, you know, integrating the masculine and feminine, but it might be many different poles of experience that we have in life, you know. We want to be free, but we also want to be stable and grounded. You know, we, you know, want to have consistency, but then that's boring. Like there's a lot of different things that have to, that this masculine might be trying to integrate right now. And we are heavy on the sun. We've got 2 suns to 1 moon out here. 2 suns to 1 moon. So it's like, yeah, it's too much sun. We need either more moon or less sun. Something, you know. Yeah, this masculine is seeking more balance. What are we walking away from here? Heartbreak. And now we have the Hermit. Yeah, I think before our masculine that we're reading for here, is able to move into this new found state of balance, there's one last important movement here, and who knows, this can take this could be many cycles over and over and over till a lesson is learned here. But what I'm seeing very clearly is somebody is walking away from these 8 cups, and there's heartbreak here. So now this could be masculine that's forced to walk away from somebody. Could be the Empress, because the Empress has left. So what can they do? It's over. They have no choice. Look, those cups are even still standing. Masculine could have a lot of love for Empress still, but he's heartbroken. And when that happens, when your heart gets broken, or when a relationship ends, it is so important here to spend some time in solitude, looking at what happened, what role you played, but not because you want to, feel badly, but because you want to grow. And this might be something that this Emperor, this masculine that we're reading for is learning at this time. There's a real need to process and grow from our past experiences. Otherwise, we're just bound to that karmic wheel. We're bound to repeat the same cycles over and over and over again, right? It ends, here I go, jumping right in, and here's somebody left trying to hold it down over here. It's over, I'm leaving, I'm leaping, right? And it's like, okay, how many times do you want to go around in that circle? It's up to every individual what they're going to do, how they want to live, what their soul needs here in this lifetime in order to grow as a soul. Everybody's at a different point on the timeline. And now we have the Tower and the 6 of Wands. Well, somebody here, either the masculine or the feminine who's leaving, we see them experiencing a victory after something is balanced out and the Tower comes down. I think it could be that some truth that's coming out, some, justice that's coming in, something being balanced out brings a tower, maybe for the masculine, and the Empress has the victory. So feminine there on the horse. Yeah. Yeah, and so for an emperor, who oftentimes we think of like too much ego, right? It's not in balance with the emotions. It's all the mind. It's not enough of the feelings. It's the logic. It's neglect of the feeling nature that is embodied by the feminine energy. A lot of times this is the thing that has to be learned, and this could be what our masculine collective is learning right now. There is a need to cool it on the sun energy, right? Stop having so much pride. This is about courage and pride, but it's also, if you want to look at it in the blocking position, too much sun, right? If you're neglecting reality, or you're living in some fantasy land where everything's fine, but then why is the Empress walking away? Well, you're missing something important here. So I think this is a necessary thing. This justice, this crumbling of what was, and this victory. And we say victory for feminine, but I'm not saying it's a victory for this Empress necessarily. It could be. But what I'm saying is it's a victory for the feminine energy. Could be within the masculine. The masculine in this reading might finally be figuring out that I need to honor my feelings. I need to be a little bit more conscientious. I need to, I need to consider, that the way I see things, this bright, sunny, my way of seeing things is the sun. I am the sun, almost. What I think goes. What I think is what it is. Well, I don't think that sits well with an Empress, because the Empress is the match to an Emperor. And if the Empress is made to feel less than, isn't respected, I see all these swords, has to pick up the sword, then the Empress doesn't get to feel like the Empress. It's okay to have disagreements and things, but it's not even that necessarily that the Empress wants to leave, but she wants to go in a different direction. Maybe she just wants to have ideas of her own. Maybe she wants to pursue her own kind of work, But if this Emperor is trying to control and block her just from being the Empress, that does not lead to harmony. That leads to this. A beautiful, intuitive energy having to become somebody that they're really not. They're transforming into something that goes against their very nature. So I think the masculine collective here is having a huge wake-up call to the nature of reality and the dynamics between masculine and feminine energies. Both need to be honored, respected. Both have value. One is not more valuable than the other. One is not entitled to dominate the other. One should not submit to the other, right? Because that's just enabling. So I think for this masculine collective, there's a realization that the more respect, autonomy, truth, realness, authenticity, the more that those elements can be brought into connections and also within self, the better the outcome. That's what's going to lead to this victory. The feminine energy has to have a victory now. it's time maybe for masculine to truly embody feminine energy, which is not taking action. It's actually being very receptive, very allowing. It is very much about boundaries, learning to set up boundaries. And many other things, but those are the big ones that are coming to mind right now. I think also honoring the feelings is a huge one. You know, there's such a tendency to make light of our feelings, or to, I forget what the term is. It's a Freudian term, but it's, instead of dealing it with a feeling or feelings, you know, there's a lot of different things you can do with something that is uncomfortable. Many different defense mechanisms. It might be subverting. You know, you can laugh. One way is that people just will do the opposite thing. Something hurts, and so you find, you know, you make fun of it, right? You project it onto another. You turn it into something else. You don't process it, and you end up hurting within your body. So there are a lot of ways that suppressing this feminine energy within can lead to problems. Okay? Well, that's an interesting read, masculines. I think this is actually a really cool reading. It's awesome to get a reading like that where there's a specific issue being looked at, examined, worked through, transformed, transmuted. Yeah, it's alchemy here. This is a masculine collective who is doing some alchemy right now on themselves, I would say. Because we have the Hermit here, too. Yeah, you know, this is a masculine who could be walking away from old belief systems, you know, family systems that are dysfunctional, friendship groups that are dysfunctional, or just recognizing that some of the things that I embrace actually kind of also break my heart. Like, and I'm going to look at it and I'm going to change it somehow. Fear. I realize that I am testing my resolve to live in the energy of love. Let's put it right here, because here we see an emperor trying to have control, who's potentially trying to block this empress's autonomy, but he's doing this from a place of fear. But in reality, what the card says is, I realize that I'm testing my resolve to live in the energy of love. So masculine has an opportunity right now to see himself with compassion, right? To recognize that this need to control another is coming from a place of fear, but that he can love that part of himself. And in doing that, he can then love this empress for who she is, and her own, you know, for who she truly is, and actually support her in who she truly is, rather than trying to shape her into somebody else. Honesty. I can't always expect the truth from others, but I can expect it from myself. We'll put it here with the Hermit, because the Hermit is gaining wisdom by spending some time reflecting on self. Yeah, and that's where honesty comes from. Authenticity, honesty. Last one. Empathy. I am open to seeing both sides of a situation. Let's put it down here with the Magician, with the sun and the moon. All right? Both sides of the situation. Using both hemispheres of the brain. Okay, collective, that's your reading. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.